Okay, guys, back for day 18 of the 100 horror films in 31 days. So I broke over 80. I guess I'm up to 85 now. But I watched about 6 movies yesterday. Some good, some bad. I guess let me go through those. First up, I watched Howl. I recorded off of Chiller. It's a 2015 British film. The guy that directed it also had some involvement in The Descent from 2005. Basically, it's a dark, takes place almost all at night. You've got a passenger train that derails, and then you've got trapped passengers that are terrorized by a pack of werewolves. And the werewolf effects were good, and the story I thought was good. The characters were passable. I mean, they weren't anything great shakes, but they weren't people that you hated to watch, which can be unusual in today's movies. So I liked it okay. I mean, I think it's a 5 or 6 out. I would give it a 6 out of 10. It wasn't anything great shakes, but it was good. Then I watched the Blu-ray of Troma's Class of Nuke 'Em High 2, Sub-Humanoid Meltdown. I just needed a change of pace. But even with that change of pace, I just don't get the Troma comedy. I've got a number of these Blu-rays when they've come out, Toxic Avenger being the main one. And I don't know. That doesn't work for me. Maybe I'm just getting old. If you like spandex and girls running around in bikinis and spiked hair and a lot of silly, gory effects and silly set pieces, this is your movie. There's no real storyline. I mean, it's basically you've got a high school that's under some next to a nuclear power plant, and of course the effects of that are creating these sub-humanoids that melt, and you get all these special effects. There was some pretty decent stop motion animation, and then they had one kind of a huge rat, a guy in a suit, kaiju type deal, where the rat was crushing everything in its path. I mean, it's fun, and the girls are good looking, but it's it's Troma. You either like it or I think this is a like it or hate it kind of deal. And I don't. Ironically, having just said that, I don't hate it. I just can take it or leave it. Maybe that's the best way to describe it. Set 5 out of 10. Then I moved on to The People Under the Stairs, which is the Scream Factory Blu-ray. Came out in 91. I really like this movie, but I don't consider it a horror movie. And I think some of the people that probably have some negative opinions about this film probably don't pick up on that. This is a social... If you listen... I watched the movie, and then if you listen to Wes Craven's commentary, if you listen to that, you get what he was trying to do was a social commentary about the haves and the have-nots, the rich, the poor. And the injustices in our society as a result of that situation. Basically, you've got a brother and sister that are landlords, and they're just squeezing every penny out of these tenement homes that the poor live in, and just cashing all the money and stockpiling it. And then you've got kind of a rebellion from a couple key people from the poor section of town. They invade the house, and the house is just a house of crazy people. So it does have horror elements, but to me, the real theme of this movie is not a horror movie, and it's kind of more of a black comedy than a horror movie. Even if there is some elements, but I consider a social commentary coupled with a black comedy. But I like it. I like the film. I think it's a statement movie, and clearly Wes Craven was trying to say something other than, hey, I'm a horror director. and do it within the context of how he was making his money, which was a horror movie. You know, we're going to call it a horror movie, but I think he was spinning it as a social commentary. There's the new artwork, Scream Factory, but I prefer that. So yeah, this is a nice release. The special features are many, plentiful. I mean, you've got the Wes Craven's commentary. You've got an actor commentary, and then a bunch of other making of type deals, which I hadn't had time to go through all of it, but I did listen to Wes's commentary, which was interesting. He kind of comes off to me as a college professor that's kind of trapped in a horror director's body. I almost think he's, I don't think he's sold out for money. He's clearly a talented director, but I think in his heart, he probably would have been something else had things been different. But, anyway, he's a hell of a director, and this is an excellent movie. So, if I can get this back in the slipcover, I'll move on. Then I moved on to Shock 'Em Dead. Yep, this is the Tracy Lords movie. For those that have been living under a rock, Tracy Lords was the underage porn actress that came out eventually that she had been doing porn underage, and then she moved and transitioned kind of pretty successfully actually to mainstream cinema. This is kind of like a Deathgasm rock horror movie. It's a slasher film about a guy that makes a pact with a voodoo woman and to become a great kind of an Eddie Van Halen guitarist. And then the price he pays is, of course, having to commit some murders to protect himself. But Tracy Lords, I thought, did a good job in this, and I liked it. It was pretty good. You got to be in the mood for it. You have to like and be ready for cheesy 80s, big hair, spandex, that kind of, in the kind of music, the kind of the glam rock stuff that came out in the 80s. If you're in the mood for that, I think it'll work for you. I think it kind of wears out its welcome. It probably was like 10 minutes too long, but it was a fun time. I think it was a 6 out of 10. There are some special features on this, no internal artwork, but there's some special features on this that I'll probably look at in November. Then I moved on to this Universal Classic Monster Archive Edition. Of course, I've watched these things zillions of times, but I was in the mood for Man-Made Monster, Lon Chaney Jr. Wow, if you have an hour and you want to spend something with some light, breezy horror, that's your movie. It's an underrated little gem. It's actually Lon's first horror role, just before he did Wolfman. And interestingly enough, they originally were going to cast Boris Karloff in the role, but they felt like the movie mimicked too much of The Invisible Ray, which he'd just done, so he ended up not doing it. Basically, what you got is Lon plays a guy that does electrical tricks in his real life, and he gets into a wreck in a bus that hits an electrical pole, and everybody dies but him. I guess it's because he kind of built up a resistance to electricity. Anyway, Lionel Atwell gets wind of it after he gets out of the hospital, and then starts creating and transmitting these electrical power surges into him until he becomes this glowing electrical monster. It's a great 60-minute movie. Fun time. 7 out of 10. Yeah, this is an old set. It's got this set is the catch-all of the Universal films. It's got the Black Cat, Man-Made Monster, Horror Island, Night Monster, Captive Wild Woman. Kind of all the ones that didn't fit into the other sets, 10 or 15 sets that they released. Yeah. I'd say Man-Made Monster is the best of those, all of those. Uh, Still going on here. I watched Warner Brothers double feature. I watched It from 1966. This is a British production with Roddy McDowall, and Roddy plays a Norman Bates-like museum curator who keeps his skeleton of his dead mother in his house. He's kind of a henpecked, strange dude. And he stumbles upon, well, he didn't stumble upon it. It's about the Golem myth, which is a Jewish story about a statue that has a spell on it, and if you say the right things, you can use the Golem for good or evil. Paul Wagner was the most famous portrayal of that. In the 1910, 1920s, he came out and did the silent films with the Golem myth. Anyway, this is a British production by Warner Seven Arts, which is kind of a Hammer sponsored. They produced a lot of the Hammer films, or distributed them, if you will. But I liked it a lot. I think Roddy McDowall, if Anthony Perkins hadn't been around to do Psycho, I think your backup plan would have been Roddy, because he plays a strange character really well. Does it real well. And once he gets his hands on the Golem to use to kind of further himself by killing off the people that they're holding him down at the museum, it's a good time, good movie. Innocent fun. It's 7 out of 10. There's no blood and gore, but it's just a good storyline and a fun, breezy 90 minutes. The last film, which threw me off my sleep, it was so horrible, was Howling 4: The New Nightmare, and it's a nightmare. Yeah, it's a piece of shit, is what it is. It's just. Where do I begin? Well, first off, the director, David Howe, is a competent director. He did Legend of Hell House. So I don't know what happened here. The budget was $2 million, and I think whoever wrote the checks for the $2 million should go back and do a full accounting, because I don't see $200 spent on this movie, much less $2 million. It's just a piece of garbage, and it's an embarrassing movie in my opinion. The attempt was to reboot The Howling, and honestly, to be fair, this film actually tries to cover the basis of The Howling story was a novel, and they actually try to be more. They try to follow the book with greater detail than, say, the first Howling movie, but that's the only positives I can give it. The acting is atrocious. Everyone looks like they're just in an induced coma. There was a funny scene where the lead character actress, that basically the character, a female writer, goes off to a local town to get away. She's having visions of ghosts and werewolves, and of course those visions eventually come true. But as these visions get worse, she goes to the doctor to increase her Valium or replace her Valium prescription. And I'm thinking when she said that, yeah, because the rest of the cast is stealing from your supply, obviously. Everybody looked like they were on Valium in this thing. It just is the first hour, nothing happens for the first hour. And then you get finally get a scene where the writer's boyfriend gets bit by a werewolf. And that's like right at the 59-minute mark. In the one scene that you could say, well, they're trying to give us something here, the werewolf woman gets naked and shows off her breasts, and she's got these horrible nipples. I mean, I feel sorry for the woman, but like, your one naked scene and you even blow that with these horrible looking strange nipples. I mean, damn, you just can't get anything right in this film. Yeah, it was just a torture a torturous 90 minutes. Thank God it's over, and I don't have to watch it ever again. So I would avoid it at all costs. And with that sobering commentary, that's the end of day 17. Thanks for watching.